Hey everyone, Eamon from the Pigeon Pack here. I wanted to start a new series where I go through what I personally do when I record and mix music. When I started out, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of grabbed a couple mics that I thought were okay and just pressed record and hoped for the best. And over the years, as the internet has evolved, I've learned a ton of new information through videos and blogs and other websites. And I wanted to cultivate everything that I've learned and put it into one long series. I'm definitely not trying to say that I'm the best and that I know everything. I would say what I do is definitely listenable, but just to get a feel, I'd like to give you some examples of my work. So this first one is from my band, The Caits.
I got the goddamn blues, so baby, won't you fuck the news about your brand new interest? Don't you remember when we first kissed?
Now this wasn't recorded in this basement, it was recorded in a different basement, Frisco's basement. And we basically pooled our resources of what we had for equipment for recording. And then I brought all of the tracks here and I mixed it here. Another example is my most recent work, which was for the band AB. Now this one actually was fully recorded and mixed right here in this basement. So if you like what you hear, then that is what I'm offering, basically. I consider it to always be a learning experience. Every time I record, I learn something new, and there's always more stuff to improve upon. Basically, I want to show you that you can make something very decent in an imperfect space. I'm going to start with showing you what I actually own, and then I'm going to go on to showing you how I record with that equipment and how I mix with that equipment. Now, as you're watching, I'm hoping that you're trying these techniques out, and I'd love to hear what you come up with, and maybe we can critique along the way. So to start things off, I'm going to show you the equipment that I have. It starts with the room. The room is the most important thing. If you don't have a room, you can't record because you don't have a space to record in. My room is this basement here. It is a very imperfect space. The walls are not acoustically treated. The ceiling is very low. You can only record really during the afternoon, and even still you have to be a little conscious of the neighbors because you can't just be blasting music 24/7. But I can fit a drum set and I can play the drums in here, and if you can do that, you can do anything. Moving on from there, I'll show you my interface. I have a Motu Pre 8. It's a 8 input interface. I really enjoy it because the 8 inputs can be either XLR or quarter inch, and I really appreciate that option. And it also has phantom power for each individual input and has pads for each individual input. I'm the type of guy that just likes a lot of options and to be able to do whatever I want. So having everything an option like that really means a lot to me. If you're on a budget, I'd say the interface is probably going to be the most important thing for you to buy because you literally need so many inputs. If you're recording just guitar or just vocals or something like that, you only need a 1, maybe 2 channel interface. However, if you're going to start with drums, you probably want an 8 channel interface. You could get away with 4, you could technically get away with 1, and hopefully I'll show you that someday. But it's going to be very important that you have the amount of inputs for the amount of mics you're going to want to do. I also have this Nady Audio TMP2. It's a tube preamp, and I'll get into what I do with that a little later because I kind of use it for a strange specific purpose. But as of right now, it is not a necessary piece of equipment to have at all. It's just something that I own, so I'm showing you. Speaking of not very necessary pieces of equipment, I have this delay, which is a DoD Dimension 12. It's literally just a delay, so if I want delay, then I can use it. Again, if you're on a budget, this is not something you need to pick up. From here, we can move on to my computer setup. I have a old Windows Vista computer, so that's not the best, and I really should upgrade, but it works totally fine. I can't complain, really. The DAW, the DAW, the digital audio workstation that I use, is Cakewalk Sonar VS. I basically use it because it came free with my first interface, which is not the Motu Pre-8. For your DAW, I would basically say go with what feels right. Everything has its perks. Nothing is particularly really better than the others. It's just whatever you really feel like using. A lot of people use Pro Tools. It's kind of an industry standard, so getting into that is great, but it's super expensive. Cakewalk actually just released a new version of Sonar, which is now called Cakewalk by BandLab, and I am personally going to try that out because it is free, and Sonar here is pretty outdated at this point. So I may actually be using Cakewalk by BandLab through this tutorial and kind of learning the ropes to that myself as we go. Monitors are also an important thing, and I'm not talking about this kind of monitor, I'm talking about this kind of monitor, the speaker. I have KRK Rocket 5s. They are very nice to me. I enjoy them quite a bit. There are some complaints that they're too colorful, but whatever. The thing with your monitors is you're probably not going to be able to afford the best monitors right now. And the thing that you're really going to have to take into account is how does this sound through the monitors? It's less about how does this sound right now, but how does this sound because of my monitors? So when I record, I often find that things sound a little too bassy, but that's because it's in my room. And so I need to be able to switch to, hey, that's why it's too bassy. Don't lower the bass right now. I'll get into stuff like that later on in the series, but I just want to point out that a monitor is, if you can afford it, it's great, but if you can't, then you just have to attenuate your ears to know what your room sounds like and what your monitors sound like. I also have my monitors sitting on some Auralex foam. That's basically just to isolate them from the desk so that they don't vibrate the desk when they play music, and then I have to hear what the desk sounds like as well. I of course have a selection of microphones, but I'm going to go through those in specific videos because everything uses a specific mic, so I feel like I might as well just talk about that then and not just list off a bunch of microphones right now because that's not very helpful. So that about does it. I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope that we can learn a bunch of new recording stuff together. Let me know in the comments what you're most interested in hearing about, and please subscribe so that you can see when the next video comes out. Thanks for watching.